Hello, we are live. I think most places that I usually go live on, so that's exciting. Let's see, okay. And with that, we are going to be doing what I come on here every month to do, which is our book club, our monthly book club for Dress and Roommate, which is really exciting. This was the book MWF Seeking BFF, My Year-Long Search for a New Best Friend, Rachel Birch. I believe is how you say her name. Super exciting. I wasn't sure, I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about this book. I'm a big proponent of having strong people in your network and really being very strategic about who you call a friend versus an acquaintance or just somebody things like that. But I was pleasantly surprised. I thought this was an interesting read and it was entertaining. And it definitely was a book that, like, I know if I were to go on this journey, I would not have done this journey. So it was nice to, even from a fictional perspective, to entertain that. So with that, let's jump right into the conversation. So it's May, it's almost over. Can't believe it. Typically, I like to do this around the end of the month. That way, you have plenty of time to read the book if you did get a copy of the book. And so, with that, how is this conversation going to go? So, we'll talk a little bit about me if you aren't already aware of who I am. I'll be. Do a little bit about it, the book summary, some notable sections of the book, and then next steps. So I am a person who loves to do a lot of things. One of my greatest inspirations was Maya Angelou. I talk about that all the time. She was more than 6, 7 categories within her lifetime. I mean, writer, poet, author, director, actor. She was everything. So because she dreamed those big dreams, I was able to dream my big dream. And I come to you as a DEI professional. I come to you as a blogger, as a writer, an author, a podcaster, content creator, public speaker, coach, trainer, mom, wife, right, friend, lots of daughter, lots of different categories that we all walk around with. And so on the screen, what you'll see is just a couple of places that I've been published at. I've had a radio show before, which is really exciting, when I was back in New York, and my podcast with my husband, Woke and Free, started in 2017. We've been featured and had some wonderful traction this year, so super exciting about that. So to sum it all up, I do a lot, and that's who I am, and I love every bit of it, as crazy and as maddening as it can be. So enough about me. Let's get into the book. The MWF Seeking BFF, right? So Rachel moves to Chicago. Finally, she can move forward with one part of her aspect, and then realizes that she feels like she's lacking in the friendship section of her life. And that is challenging because no one wants to feel like you don't have someone in your corner that you can talk to, that you can vent to, that you can look for inspiration from. So she goes on a journey. She goes on 52 friend dates, which is why I said I don't think I personally would go through that, because I don't even have, like, I have energy for all the things I have to do in my life. I would not have energy for this, but I commend her for this journey, and she takes you along with it for every single date and shares her reflections and her thoughts. And so I think you'll enjoy some of the notable sections we'll go over. So before we go into this, I found this quote and I thought it was really interesting. So I wanted to just kind of bring it to the forefront, which is by Anaïs Nin. Each friend represents a world in us, a world possibly not born until they arrive. And it is only by this meeting that a new world is born. So what do you think that means? For me, I read this to be the opportunity that you actually learn to discover new parts of who you are and your personality and your interests and what you're looking for in this world. And that is probably one of the most meaningful things about having friends, because with that, you're able to grow and you're able to evolve. That's why I say you always should be very strategic about who you have in your corner. Otherwise, you risk not growing and evolving to the degree that you could. So let's get into sections. All right. So I don't know if I'll hit every section, but I hope I can, because she definitely is a fantastic writer. Lots to talk about. So in the first one, 4 types of friendships, I thought this was really interesting. Journalist Valerie Frankel wrote in Self magazine about the types of friendships a woman needs to be happy. Psychologists have long described four major types of friendships. She wrote, one, the acquaintance, someone you chat with on the street or at a local cafe who gives you a sense of belonging. Two, the casual friend, a grab lunch pal who often serves a specific purpose, such as tennis or running partner. Three, the close buddy, an intimate, trustworthy comrade you can say anything to. And four, the lifter, who's as deep and forever as family. Frankel's research found that women should have 3 to 5 lifters, 5 to 12 close friends, 10 to 50 casuals, and 10 to 100 acquaintances. I'm searching for someone who would fall in the close friend category. If she became a lifter, I wouldn't object, but I imagine the differentiating factor from one to the other is time. So with that, when I read that, I was like, so I'm not hitting majority of these categories. I mean, I have specific people that I could point to within each of the category, but the numbers that I thought, wow, okay, that's like a lot of pressure because, you know, when you think about, I guess it depends on how you orient your life and how social you were. I think it's easier to hit some of those numbers if friendship has always been at the forefront for you and how you behaved. For me, not necessarily. For me, it's always been about like productivity and accomplishment and impact, and then within those realms the people who are like the real ones come through and are able to fit one of those categories. But for like the deeper friendships, right, so like the lifter and then the close buddy, the casual friend, I mean, that's super easy, right? Absolutely, you go to an event or two. The acquaintance, go to an event, that's nothing. Now I thought, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I thought this was also really funny where she says, you know, she in the book, she says, okay, I want to take out an ad because she's looking for her BFF, right? Married white female seeks best friend forever for last minute brunches, TV watching playdates, and general girl talk. An East Coast transplant newly settled in the Midwest. I work as a web producer by day, though my first love is writing. I run and do yoga. I'm addicted to television, but it critically acclaimed Friday Night Lights or Juvenile, everything on ABC Family, anyone. I'm an avid reader with a soft spot for book clubs. I vote Democrat and drink too much Diet Coke. I grew up in New York City suburb, though I went to a private school in the Bronx. At 27, I'm too old to stay out drinking until 3 a.m., but too young to start a family and move to the suburbs. Truth be told, I'll probably just read the whole thing. I hope never to leave the city. In high school and in college, I had a ton of close friends, but now it's not so easy. Research says female friendships are most at risk between ages 25 and 40, the career building, child rearing years. I'm looking for someone locally to stick it out with me until the big 4-0, so we don't find ourselves in 15 years with no friends to rely on. If you were to write an ad looking for a BFF, what would your ad say? Like, that was the first question that came to mind when I read this, because I thought it was like super specific about her and a little bit about who she is, but was it fully clear on what she's looking for a friend? When I read that, I felt like, do you know what you need in a friendship? Like for me, if I were to write an ad, I would actually shift the perspective. So a little bit about me, maybe 1 to 3 sentences, but then the rest of it would actually be a delineation of friend. Like, what do I need? I want loyalty. I want commitment. I want mutual shared interests, specifically on genre of film, genre of TV show, books, activities, right? Like, I would have doubled down on the type of friend, because I think the problem with this ad is it gives you a good glimpse of who she is, but it doesn't give you insight as to what a good friend would be for her. So she's going to get I don't I don't even know in reality like what that type of ad would actually deliver for you, but I kind of suspect it wouldn't give her the friends that the potential people that could turn into friends for her. So thought it was interesting. Let's see, get into the next one. And if you have comments or like thoughts, please put them on. I'm here on Facebook. I'm here on YouTube. I'm here on Twitter. I'm here on LinkedIn. So definitely looking to hear from y'all if you have thoughts you want to chime in. So this is an interesting stat within the book. So most notable is a 2010 study that found that social interaction improves a person's odds of survival by 50%. Researchers found that having low levels of connection is comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day, or being an alcoholic more harmful than not exercising and twice as harmful as obesity. Another study, this one of Australians aged 70 or older, found that participants with a large circle of friends were 22% more likely to survive the next 10 years than those with fewer friends. Having a spouse, close relatives, or even lots of loving children had no impact on survival. I figure the more friends my mom makes now, the more she'll have when she's 70. The more friends she has when she's 70, the more likely she is to live to 80. On top of that, widowhood doesn't even put her at disadvantage, keeps going on. So what I thought was interesting about this is obviously this was written pre-COVID, right? So like you have to start to think how, when we do isolate ourselves, being that more things are remote, being that more people are, you tend to stick by themselves. What is the health impact that's really happening? Now, obviously this is, a fictional book, but just out of curiosity, right? Like what are your estimations? What are your thoughts? So just putting that in your spirit, think about it, all of that good jazz. Next section, let me jump to the work friend conversation. I thought that was, I didn't necessarily agree with that, but I wanted to share it with y'all. So there's a pretty large collection of research about workplace friendships, both pro and con. Some experts say you should keep office relationships separate from the real life kind. In her book, Friendships, The Power of Friendship and How It Shapes Our Lives, sociologist Jan Yeager says coworkers should adhere to a 3-year rule, taking that long to turn coworkers into friends. Even then, she says you should keep the relationships casual. I thought that was absurd. I would say one of the most meaningful relationships I've had are with people that I've worked with in my career or through entrepreneurship. So I would say there are no necessarily rules that need. Hey, Khalil, thanks for showing through on Facebook. I appreciate it. I think one of the things I've learned in my life, and again, I'm not like 1,000 years old, so definitely open to learnings and new growth and all that good jazz. But there isn't like a rule to friendship. I would say there are parameters, there are guidelines, there are boundaries you should have in place. But to set out rules to say you can only do this with this person and in this timeline, to me just seemed a little short-sighted. And so, I agree to disagree kind of situation there. But just things to keep in mind. Should you really befriend the people you work with? I personally am an advocate of that because I think that you spend more time doing work than not work. So why not enjoy the time you have with your work folks? But each different strokes for different folks. And I wouldn't chastise or say to someone, you could only do this, you could only do that. So just, I would say for your own sanity and enjoyment, you should make friends with people that vibe with who you are and what you're trying to accomplish in this world, and wherever they come from in this space, that good for them, right? So if they come through work, awesome. If they come through a family, awesome. If they come through friends of friends, awesome. Like, you got to do what you got to do, because ultimately it's going to derail your progress if you get too caught up on, I've got to live life according to these rules and according to these mannerisms. It doesn't make sense. So there's that. Now, she has this conversation around, let's see, what page was this? 254. Yeah. So around like the type of friendship roles. And so she wrote, Stacy, page 254. Stacy is a wine connoisseur. This is a good trait in a potential BFF. Sometimes I wish I could staff my friends like I would in office. We'll need one social coordinator, one finance whiz to handle dividing the group checks, a fashionista to approve outfits and track down the perfect pair of jeans, and a computer genius, Miss Fix-It, to help me repair the stuff around the house. I call these friends with benefits, a different kind. Matt was before we started dating. Jeez, Louise. So wanted to share that because I wanted you to think, okay, well, what would you say what are the roles that the friends have in your life? I know I've written about this on Dress and Roommate blog. Definitely go subscribe and check out some content there. But for me, it's interesting. I guess I would say intentionality hasn't been put behind that when I have tried to create friendships. Like if I see a person and be like, oh, I feel like he or she or they could fit X category. Like I haven't approached friendship that way. Usually it's kind of been just like, it's a vibe. And then from that vibe, it turns into, you can develop and see how that person can be a blessing in your life. So is this person you go to when it comes to talking about business? Is this a person you go to when you talks about like family issues? Is this a person you talk to when it comes about fashion? Like, I feel like it's developed. It was never intentional that way. So just things to keep in mind. I'd love to hear in the comments, like when you approach friendship, what is the intentionality behind how you approach people, and like what you envision how that person's going to play a role in your life? So just was thinking there. Now, I thought this section was really funny in chapter 12, page 260. I've given into paying for friendship. If eHarmony could charge $240 a year, this is dated, so, keep that in mind. Then coffeeed up $5 per month for girlfriend circles, or $30 for the personal attention of Meet Joe, or $15 for speed friending isn't so bad, considering that studies show people value time with friends more than time with their romantic partners. These sites might be a bargain. I'm just going to stop right there. Do you value time with your friend more than your romantic partner? I thought that, like, whoa. Yes, friendship is absolutely important, but how does it rank within how we prioritize all of the relationships in our life? It's a lot going on. I have read in like articles outside of fictional books where people do say like friendship breakups are harder than actual romantic breakups. That I definitely can attest to. I've had quite a bit of those, and it has been deeply painful along the way. But is that true for you? Put it in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, because just very, very, very interesting stuff there. Now, next section, page 283. The average friendship doesn't last a lifetime. In her book, Best Friends Forever, Surviving a Breakup with Your Best Friend, psychologist Irene Levine writes, a friendship like a romantic relationship is founded on two different personalities, both of whom grow and change for better or for worse over the course of time. There's no guarantee that two individuals, however close they once were, will grow in the same direction or remain compatible, even when friendship is built on a solid foundation. The odds are overwhelmingly high that it will eventually fracture for one reason or another. Most friendships, even best or close ones, are fragile rather than permanent. Nick and I fall under this fragile category. It seems ours was a situational friendship born from a need on both sides to have someone our own age to talk to during those long summer work days. It served a purpose, but that need is no longer. The evening makes me think Facebook is a blessing and a curse. Sure, it helps us keep track of people with whom we otherwise would have fallen out of touch, but sometimes relationships fade for reason. They're better left a memory. Interesting. Khalil, I see your thought. Lots of friend types. Yep, exactly. So when I read that, I was like a little heartbroken, because it's true. Like, I definitely, like, me and Khalil have talked about this. We've talked a little bit about friendship on the podcast, but even in just our own, marital conversations, just the struggle, right? The struggle to find the real ones and have them stick by you and be true. Because with all you, I don't think people intend to say, oh, I'm only going to be a season in your life, right? I think that people intend longevity, but then something happens. Either you don't spend enough time talking to each other, or you do talk about stuff and then you start to quarrel and debate, and like in kind of an unhealthy, toxic manner, and so then it degrades. Or I know I've been in this situation. I've had friends make life decisions, which I'm all for people living their life and doing what they have to do. But if you're making a decision that hurts you, either physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, it's hard. It's hard to be that friend who sits by and is like, yeah, just gonna watch you ruin your life. Like, oh, no. I, have been accused of being that person who struggles to let people fail. And, the coach in me and the empathetic person in me really does struggle. I really want the best for people in their lives all the time. And I really want everyone to win. And it really hurts to sit by and know that someone is like intentionally making a decision that is like jacking them up on multiple or whatever individual levels. And so, yeah, do we go into friendship even though we know that it possibly can come to an end? Do we still dare to do it? Do we still want to do it? I think it's a similar question you have to pose yourself for love. Love is challenging, right? You know that it can be over consuming. It can be so lovely and beautiful, but there's no guarantee that it'll last forever. And no matter what, you will be parted away from each other because one of you will die. It's very rare to be able to die together, like Notebook style, right? So, yeah, do we still do it? We do. We take the plunge each and every time. So I guess it's a similar kind of narrative that you do for friendship, that you hope for the best and you try to grow and evolve with each other in the same direction. But being honest and open is I think a helpful situation to be able to have some longevity if possible. So with that, let me just get down to the summary where she talks a little bit about what she learned through all of this experience. So she says, I can't believe it. It's over. I've gone on 52 friend dates in the past year. I've met closer to 100 people if you count everyone in my improv class and leads group and book clubs and mixers, maybe even more. I've gone out with some people who became great friends and some who I never saw again. Now we're rhyming. A good handful of potential friendships fizzled after the second date. In some cases, I tried to follow up with ladies only to never hear back. In others, my new friends moved out of state. A lot can happen in a year. Let's tally, shall we? In 52 first friend dates, I went out with 59 people, 24 women I never saw again, 7 women on second dates that were also the last date, 3 women, Kim, Stacy, Bridget, with whom I tried to pursue friendships but got no response. Whether it was because they were at friend capacity, too busy, skeptical of my blog, or just not that into me, I'll never know. 4 women who moved by the end of the year, Sally, Rebecca, Allison, Julie. 22 people who I would consider legitimate friends and still live in Chicago. Of that 22, I met 4 at work, 2 in improv class, 5 through friends of friends, 5 via my online essay, 1 at my wedding dress appointment, 1 on an online message board, 1 at her author reading, 1 through Matt's office, 1 at Leeds, and 1 at Northwestern back in the day. That's a lot. That's a lot of connecting. Like I said, for me, my heart is not into it. I, recently was having a revelation that for me, I have a personality type that I'm usually, because I'm like so forward and such a go-getter, that in relationships, whether it's romantic or platonic, that I do a lot of chasing, a lot of like, how are you? What are you doing? And always giving. It's just like a part of my nature. But, as you know, that can be very exhausting after many years. I'm not 2 years old. So it's been many, many years of doing that. And you sometimes you get tired. And so you really, for me, like, I just kind of decided that like the real ones I have in my life, I just try to cherish those relationships and hold on to those and try to be a blessing in their life. And then for new people that want to come through into my world or sphere, I welcome it, but I definitely have made an active decision not to like chase after it, right? So kind of like if someone shows me effort, I 1,000% will meet you where you are. I'm always about that, but I'm not going to go on 52 friend dates. That I do know. Not happening in this world. I don't have the time for that, but then also not interested. I find that like after all of that, was that revealing? Was that enjoyable? She seemed exhausted. She seemed frustrated throughout the journey. So, right? Like it's each different strokes for different folks. Definitely, I'm not one of those folks who would do that. But please put in the comments, would you go on 52 first friend dates? Would you go on an active year-long journey to try to find a new BFF or a close friendship for yourself? Would love to hear your thoughts on that, because for me, I was just like, what? No. Hard pass. So some thoughts to keep in mind as we wind down the program. Friends are like pictures. They come into your life, they leave footprints on your heart, and you hope that the footprints stay for a long time. I am a sappy, bleeding heart. Please know that about me. Always in love with a love story, in love with love, and the idea of people finding people through friendship, through the kinship that is available around the globe, right? We don't even have to be friends with people just in our cities or in our hemisphere. That you can have deep, profound friendship with people around the globe. So it's amazing. And I'm an advocate of finding, again, people you can vibe with, people that get you, that understand you. But do you need to go on a journey to hunt for that? That I'm still pondering. I'm still thinking about it. I'm open to the conversation. So please inspire me. Put your thoughts in the comments. I also would recommend, when you go through the friendship journey, don't compromise yourself for anyone else. If you are like, you know what, I can't do spicy food, which painful. Painful realization for me. I love it. But if that's you and that's you, then do you. Don't say, oh, well, this person seems really cool. So yeah, we'll go to the spiciest restaurant in town. No, why are you going to destroy yourself for someone else? Doesn't make sense ever. So don't do that. And then this has been a lesson that I've had to learn because I'm a Virgo. I'm giving you my whole life story as I typically do. So enjoy. Recognize that everyone has strengths and weaknesses and that these differences make us unique and more interesting. So I say that to say that even when you do find really good people, like really good people in your life, they are not perfect. I mean, sometimes some are really good, like some really close to it, but most people are going to disappoint you in some way or form because expectation is a part of life. I wrote about this on the blog as well. Expectation is a thief of joy. The less you expect from others, the more joy you have in your life. Expect everything from yourself and expect nothing from others. That way you have less blowback when they say they're going to do something and they don't, or you expect for someone to do something and they don't, because you can never expect yourself out of others. And that's why expectation is, just a hard space to be in. So acknowledge that you may be really strong in certain categories of your life. Your friends might not be, right? They might actually be the polar opposite to you because maybe that's what drew you together. I'm like super confrontational. So typically my friends are non-confrontational. Like they are the opposite. That way we can blend, right? And that when they need someone to be that bulldog in their life, I'm like, here you go. Yes, boo. Let's talk about this. And vice versa. For certain weaknesses that I carry, I appreciate endlessly the people in my life who help me say, hey, Natasha, cut that nonsense out. Have you thought about it this way, right? And really challenge me to confront my biases, confront my demons, confront my weaknesses, because we all have them. You cannot be human without it. So, get with it and make time for each other and set boundaries. So I say that because ultimately, no matter how much you love your friends, no matter how awesome they are, you can't talk to them 24/7 as much as you might want to. People have to have space and time to be able to do what they need to do. They need to have time with their families, do their career, travel, play video games, read books. Like people have lives and you just hope to be baked in and embedded within their life, but you can't take over their life. So that's why it's really important, even within our friendships, to have healthy boundaries, because otherwise people will take over and then you start to resent that person. And then it becomes a toxic, unhealthy friendship. So Khalil shares, and again, my co-host and partner in crime in life, says, I would do a 1 hour journey currently. So let me share that because that's hilarious. So Khalil, I appreciate that. I commend you for that. I agree. At this point in my journey, I would say, because I have like such really powerful people in my life, I don't necessarily know I would even start or embark upon a friendship journey today, but I'm always open. I'm always open to meeting new people and developing new relationships. Absolutely. Like that's fantastic. Kinship is everything, but would I go on the hunt for it? For me, like I said, I'm more interested in going into spaces in my career as well as within my entrepreneurial activities that lend for me being able to meet good people. I don't know if I would go and like put an ad and like all of that. I think for me, that's like doing too much, but I commend anyone who does it. I think it's brave as hell. So what are the next steps? Next month, it is going to be Juneteenth, so don't you forget it. Ooh, Independence Day. Come on, Black people. Let's get with it. And we're going to read a book on Blackness, Visibility, Essays on Philosophy and Race by Charles W. Mills. Yeah. And I'm excited. I think that this is going to be like a heavy read. I think this is going to be probably a very challenging read, but it's going to be something that helps us confront the journey of understanding Blackness and Black identity, which of all the months to do in the year, you definitely can hit it up for Black History Month. You can hit it up for the month of June because that's Juneteenth. But guess what? You can read about identity and you can read about inclusive cultures all year long. So I'm just choosing June to do that for the book club. I don't think I've done that before, so I'm excited to do that. I'm excited to hear how you guys receive this and what are your thoughts from this. So please, please, please put in your comments if you didn't get a chance to watch this live. Come on the replay, share your thoughts with me. Next steps would be, if you have any questions, you can always reach me at my email address, natasha@dressingroom8.com, and then also the blog, dressingroom8.com. And, you know, again, blogger, author, DEI professional. I am a coach, a speaker, a facilitator. I am a person on a journey of trying to just provide wellness and support for those in their careers, those on pursuing business, and just always interested in having a good time with content. So thank you for tuning in. So much fun. This book was, it was interesting. It was definitely interesting. So if you're interested in getting a copy, go to dressingroom8.com. It'll take you to Amazon. You'll get your copy right there. And with that, I'm going to sign off. It's been fun. I will see you next month, if not sooner. Have a great, wonderful rest of your day. Bye.